Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Mittman-Besnoff, CPA. And for the last 30 years, yes, 30 years in the accounting world, I absolutely love sharing my insights and passion about money for individuals, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. Knowing your money and hopefully feeling less stressed about your money is what I call being financially empowered. Welcome to the Your Financial Maven podcast. Hey, this is part 2 of my fabulous interview with Therese Nicklas. I hope you enjoy it. So I wanted to ask you, are there a couple of things about insights on what, how to maybe break some of those bad money habits, like what you see and what you do, kind of what do you work with on your clients to get rid of some of those bad money habits?
Well, number one is awareness.
Yeah.
You need to be aware. So you need to have that stop making excuses.
Yeah.
You have to accept that things aren't the way you want them to be, because until you do that, nothing will change.
Right.
So when you make the decision that you want different, number one, we look at what is the most different thing you want. So let's say your belief system is you live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
And that's the thing you want to change. Then we use the exercise that we mentioned earlier of saving some money. I don't care, the number doesn't matter, but
Right.
Get in the habit of putting money into a savings every single time you have a paycheck. And I recommend auto pay. So if you go to the bank and you physically have to move money from one account to another, it will never happen. It might happen once. It won't happen after that.
Set it and forget it.
Set it up and forget it. You can either set it up at the bank level, that every time you get paid, money automatically transfers to your savings, or at your paycheck level, depending on the payroll company, they usually have multiple slots for where money can go.
Right. And but for those businesses like myself, where it's just we're getting contractor pay, I would say at the bank level, then set it up that every month this transfer of X dollars or what, dollar, whatever it is, goes from the checking to the savings account. And when I say set it and forget it, you should still review it on occasion to make sure the cash flow is there. But you don't have to remind yourself every month, I got to move this to savings. I get paid monthly or whatever. So it works both ways. But yes, definitely.
Yep. So whatever your system is for getting paid, you want to have an automated process of taking money from the paycheck to the savings account. And then that will, again, you're triggering a habit.
Right.
When you do that, every single time you get paid, you form the habit. This is something I teach them to form the habit of checking it out, like you said, making sure the transaction took place, and just show gratitude. Yeah. That was something I learned from my grandmother also. She was very grateful for everything. If what you're grateful for, you get more of.
You're right.
So gratitude is a very powerful energy. So you show gratitude. You say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am saving money with ease and grace.
Right.
You have that 100%. Little affirmation every single time you get paid.
And no matter the dollar amount, even if it is $1, you should give yourself that joy of, I put it away. I did that. I did that.
Right. I did that. I am building wealth $1 at a time, if that's the case.
Yes. I mean, it's one of those things that gets you started. But then as you start to, along with that, taking a look at what's coming in and what's going out with the money, that then gives you more confidence to say, wait a minute, I've got more money. I've got that surplus at the end of the month. I can do more with that. I can save more with that.
And then that's the other step, is knowing your numbers.
Yes.
Because getting in the habit of paying attention to them, whether it's, if you grab a, pad of paper, or you use QuickBooks or, some other kind of, there are a lot of tools out there that are free.
I use Excel, to be honest. I use an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I do it all by hand.
Yeah, any kind of a spreadsheet is fine.
I used to do it all by hand, and I do it with an Excel spreadsheet now. And I have access to like QuickBooks or Xero or other accounting softwares. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it this way.
Do it whatever way works for you. There is no judgment. Right. So whatever works for you, but knowing what money you take home.
Right.
And the other thing is review your pay stub, because make sure that whatever is being withheld or being withdrawn. If
Absolutely.
it's for like a life insurance or, different benefits, make sure those are benefits you're actually using and that
Right.
actually makes sense for you.
Well, and you bring that up, I think on an annual basis, you should be reviewing that stuff. You need to pay attention. The IRS has a great tool to make sure if you are a W-2 wage earner, you're getting a paycheck, that you're having enough being withheld, you're having the right amount being withheld, whether it's enough or it's too much. But I think that's important, even looking at your life insurance, because that also brings up, and I'm sure you talk to this about your clients, that the life insurance benefit you may get at work is great, but it's not portable, which means if you leave that job, you've lost that life insurance. So definitely something to review, to have extra life insurance, having, not only that, but also having the right documents in place, a will, power of attorney. Those are things that all go with this and should be reviewed, if not, annually at the least. You could do it twice a year kind of a thing.
Well, I think when it comes to, if you've put a estate plan together, and anyone who owns a home, once you purchase, they call it real estate for a reason. You now have an estate.
Right.
So you should have some type of estate plan. If the best you can come up with is a will, it's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
And there are tools you can do it online. It's not free, but it's very inexpensive. There's like LegalZoom, Trust and Will is another good one. There's others, but those are two that I'm very familiar with. If you don't want to go to the expense of going to an attorney, there's no reason not to have it.
But that's part of your wealth. That's part of your growing your wealth. And I think that's important for people to understand that as well.
Well, the other thing, Samantha, that people don't understand, and I talk a lot about energy.
Right.
Okay? I always wish I had more energy. But
so do I some days. So do I.
But when you have something that's called like an incomplete, okay, you have tasks that you should do, but you haven't, or you just don't. Those tasks are in the back of your mind all the time, and they're draining you of energy, and they're draining you of moving forward. You don't even realize it's all subconscious. So when you have all of your ducks in a row, so to speak, you show up differently.
I agree.
And one of those ducks is having some sort of estate plan. It does not have to be, the whole, will, trust, this, that, and the other, but at a minimum, a will. And I'm telling you, I had an uncle that died 2 years ago without a will. It was, I won't use the word, it was a
you can certainly say it. It's all good, but we're good with all that. But no, you're right. And I think people need to understand that. And I'm sure when you have your clients and you're talking to women, you're not just talking about the ins and outs of their money, but these other wealth building things that they need to be aware of. Even if you rent an apartment or a townhouse or a home, there's still wealth in there somewhere. There's still things you have to pay attention to.
Right. Bank accounts, retirement accounts, things of that nature. You have to be sure that if something happens to you, that stuff doesn't get tied up in probate. Because it's just a huge mess.
And then it adds more emotion and stress, in that regards. Is there anything with, kind of that part of it too, with the emotion, that is so important that you share with your clients and with others as it comes and relates to money? Because money is emotional. And is there anything that sticks out that people walk away and they go, oh, Terry, yes, I get it. Like it clicks right away with them?
Well, I think knowing how to have money conversations. And to have, even if the conversation is only with me.
Right.
Or,
exactly.
Even if you look in the mirror and you have the money conversation, but being able to have a conversation about your finances is very important. Once you can learn how to talk about it, then other things just seem to fall into place, because very often we make things worse than they really are. We have the subconscious limiting belief. And I'll give you a quick example of that. I had a woman I was working with, and this is a number of years ago, and she said to me, she always wanted to own a home, but she said, I have bad credit. And I said, really? I said, what is your credit score? And she said, I don't know. I said, well, if you don't know your credit score, how do you know if you have bad credit? Well, 7 years ago, we went bankrupt. We lost our home. I said, well, 7 years ago, that could all be behind you.
Right.
It could be gone,
off your record.
Right. It could be off your record now. And she said, oh, I thought that followed you around for the rest of your life. I said, no, only in your head. So I had her, this was very painful for her. but I had her look up her credit score. Her credit score was 650. Now, is that
Okay.
outstanding? No, but it's not bad.
It's not bad at
It's
all.
not, redlining. It's
Right.
okay. I said,
Right.
you could get a credit card with that. You could probably even get a
Absolutely.
mortgage.
Right.
So
Right.
you have the woman, I'll never forget the look on her face. It was absolutely priceless because the relief, and I knew when she said that to me, I said, she's carrying so much shame about something that happened 7 years ago.
And I think, that is something that I do here with the podcast, why I have, you on, other certified financial planners, other friends, business owners on here, is we have to talk about this, and not just with each other, but I'm the strong proponent of talking to our young adults and our children about money. Even a 2-year-old can understand a basic concept of how to count money if you work with them, or show them, or when you're in the grocery store, have them participate in the paying for the food, that kind of thing. Because our older son and our younger son will have conversations, and they're just like, I didn't know that. How did you know that? Well, we had to learn. And now that we've learned, we're passing it on to you. And, about loans, and about, the idea of buying a home and having a mortgage compared to what does it mean to rent? There's philosophies out there of you're wasting your money renting. Well, you may or may not be. Right. There might be a reason why you choose to rent over why you want that mortgage, and having a home and a mortgage gives you something different than renting, but they're not wrong. Neither way is wrong.
They're not wrong. Neither way is wrong. Both can be,
and I
both
think
can be
that's a
good
key
and be
here.
true at the same time.
Right.
And, speaking of children and loans, I really believe, and I've been talking about this for years, and now it's like I'm hearing it more and more on the news. So it's like, have I been speaking out loud and now somebody's listening to me?
Okay.
Who knows? But this is all around higher education. College is not for everyone. Doesn't make it bad or wrong. But the truth is that college is not for everyone. And since the 70s up until present day, most high schools, or even younger than high school, but most high schools are a college prep program. There are very few vocational technical schools left in the country.
I mean, yes and no. I will say I live in Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, and I have to say our school districts really do support our VOTech program through high school. And then we do have several technical schools. But you're right. I think just like you, growing up, graduate high school, go to college, get your job. And I've said this for years. VOTech schools, you could go into the military, you could take a gap year, you could go right out into the workforce, you could go to college. Like, there is no set path for that student to go.
Right. And, I think it's important for kids to understand, as well as their parents, what the true cost of the education is. If
let me tell you, I can tell you right now, it is crazy. I mean, my older son's college financial experience was very different than my younger son, who's still currently in college. My older son has graduated, but for both of my kids, we were of the philosophy that they had to take some student debt for skin in the game.
Right.
So that they're, if they're going to go to college, you have to pay, do what you're there to do. And you can have fun and have the college experience, but classes are important. You're paying money to do this, but also to help build their credit and to help build them understand that they've got to pay this back, and what does interest mean, and this and that. So, they both have student loans, and they're not happy about it, but it is what it is.
Right. But the point that I was making is, yes, there is no one set path.
Right.
When I was in high school, only about 25% of my graduating class went on to a 4-year program.
Wow.
I also had a high school that had a VOTech school. However, the kids that went to the VOTech were really looked down on. It was almost like they must be the dumb kids. And they probably were smarter than all of us.
I agree with you on that.
And today, like when my kids were going to school, I'm a little older than you, but when my kids were going through, like 5, 6, 7, 8, years, and then they were going on to high school, that point, we only had one VOTech school in our area. And again, it was not something that was applauded to go to a VOTech
interesting.
school.
Yeah.
And
I guess in certain areas of the country, it's not.
Right. And, on the East Coast here with all these big name schools, in Boston, you can't throw a rock without hitting a top
Right.
tier school. Not that
Beautiful
I
city,
don't
by
even
the
want,
way. I
yeah,
have to say, I love
don't want to
Boston.
go down
We've
that road right.
visited.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep. But, you look at that and you look at, we have a shortage of plumbers, we have a shortage of welders, we have a shortage of people who know how to, computer tech, all of these different things. And the reason we have that shortage is because our philosophy on what our kids should do was really skewed. And I think that the guidance counsel that kids get is seriously flawed. But that's a whole topic of another day. But talking about the money aspect of all of this, I think it's essentially important that when a child does go to college, and that's fine if they're going to college, have a
Right.
full understanding of the cost of that education, as you say, having some skin in the
Absolutely.
game, but
Absolutely.
realizing that you don't have to go to, like the Wharton School of Business in order to be a really good business
Right.
person. There are
Right.
state-sponsored schools that can do a great job because it's really what you put into it. And there are ways of slicing and dicing that 4-year program. Go to a community college for a year or two. You
Absolutely.
save yourself a boatload of money.
Absolutely. I think that's a good point. I don't think people realize community colleges are phenomenal. In fact, our local community college, both of our kids have taken some classes there while they were in high school to like supplement some of the classes, and those credits transferred. When they went off to their 4-year
Right.
school, those credits transferred. So people might say, well, why spend the money there? No, it can be worth it. If you go to a tech school or a community college from a financial aspect, it might save you in the long run.
It will. It will most definitely save you because there's those core things that, you have to get no matter where you go. But
Right.
the other thing
Agree.
is I had a woman client, this was a number of years ago. I used to do a lot of college planning work, financial planning around college. And this woman had gone through a horrific divorce and she lived in an affluent community, but financially she was in a bad place. And her ex was, you're on your own for college, even though he was supposed to pay for some of it.
Like pay for it.
So her
Yeah.
daughter was a very good athlete, and she was looking at all these different schools, and some of them were your higher ticket New England schools, and then she also was looking at state school. So I had told the mother, I said, do you know that there is a scholarship? I don't know if they still do it, but at the time, the University of Massachusetts system had a scholarship, and they would give that scholarship to 2 students in every high school in the country, and it
Wow.
was a full ride.
Wow.
So she said, oh, I didn't know about that. So I gave her the information. I said, look into it. Well, sure enough, the daughter was looking at these different schools. They went to UMass, it was UMass, the big one, UMass Amherst, and the daughter fell in love with the campus. She said, this is it. This is the place I want to go. So mother said, fine, you can't get, the price is right. Everything else is perfect.
Right.
If this is where you're going to be happy. She met the coach that she would be working with. She really liked them. I mean, it was like everything clicked. She goes back to school and she had a meeting with her guidance counselor, and she's telling her guidance counselor that she'd made this decision. Well, the guidance counselor hit the roof. And she said, with all of your aptitude, you're settling for that? And she was really trying to push her towards one of the more elite colleges.
Right. But from a
So the
financial
mother called
aspect,
me.
right, from a financial aspect, it might not have worked out for her. She might have ended up back there anyway because financially she might not have been able to afford a more elite
Exactly.
school. And yeah, I kind of agree there. What is elite in that regards, right?
Right. Well, the thing was, you're in an affluent community. This particular guidance counselor didn't want, how they post all the schools that the kids go
Yes.
to. She
Yes.
didn't
Didn't want
want
to have
this
to post
state
that. Yeah.
university on the back of the program. So the mother called me. Mother was hysterical. She's like, I don't know what to do. She was like sobbing on the phone. She was so upset. And I said, well, are you trying to tell me that the guidance counselor is going to write out a check to pay
Right.
for your daughter's education?
Right.
And that calmed her down. She goes, well, no, I don't think so. I said, neither do I. It's none of her business. Her
Right.
business
I
is
agree.
counseling the child so that they can reach their potential. That's her job. Her job is not to tell the child, you have to go to this more expensive school, even though you like this school over here. Well, as it turns out, I don't know how many guidance counselors they had at this particular school, But apparently this is their MO, is to steer the kids away from the state schools. This is, we're going back about 20 years ago. But anyway, she was steering the kids away. So this young lady was the only student in the school that applied to UMass Amherst. So she got the scholarship.
That's awesome. Good for her.
She got a full 4 year. Plus she got, because of their income, she got like a little stipend of a job. And she loved it there. She ended up staying on to get her master's degree, but she loved it there. And I think that it's really important to understand the financial aspect
100%.
and that you can get a really good education at a state-sponsored school. You don't, unless the school you're looking at, you want to become a left-handed banjo player and they're the only ones that have that as a major.
Right.
Chances
Understood.
are
Yes.
any school is going to get you where you want to be.
Right. But paying attention, and that's this whole point of the conversation we've been having today,
exactly.
is paying attention to your money. Terry, this has been phenomenal. I just love your energy. I love how passionate you are about sharing all of this. So where can my listeners find you if they have questions for you or just want to check out what you do?
Okay, well, I have a website, and it is wealthcoachforwomenfor.com. On the website, you will find buttons all over the place if you wanted to book a strategy call with me. It's a free 30-minute consult where we can share your hopes, dreams, aspirations. I can share with you what I do and how I could potentially help you. And even if we walk away and you decide I'm not for you, you will get a few nuggets that at least you will see that this is a good use of your time. There's also different tools that you will find that are free. One of them that I like to give out to my podcast listeners is wealthcoachforwomen.com/pod, POD. And that's a whole wealth building toolkit that I've put together.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And on there, you'll also find my contact page. So if there's something specific that you would like, if you wanted more information or you would like to obtain a copy of the Legacy Toolkit, just send me an email and I will email it to you. It's a simple PDF. I'd love to give it to you. I think it's a great tool. It really helped me out a lot. It helped me organize everything and give my husband all the information that he needed. No, definitely check it out.
Definitely. And I will have all the links and all the information in the show notes so all the listeners can have direct access to your website and your information and your tools. Terry, thank you so much for joining me today on Your Financial Maven.
You are most welcome, Samantha, and I think what you're doing is awesome. We need more voices like yours.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Follow, like, and subscribe to Your Financial Maven wherever you listen to your podcasts. And make sure that you leave your money stories or questions for me at www.yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about money. The purpose of this podcast is to provide general information on the subjects discussed. It is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It is not meant to resolve your specific financial needs or situations. Please consult with your CPA, tax, or financial professionals. Your Financial Maven is hosted and produced by Samantha M. Besnoff, CPA, and Your Financial Maven, LLC. Editing is done by Chris Zarnock of KM Zen Creative. Music is written, composed, and performed by Daniel Shore.